A 17-year-old girl, two parents found dead inside their home, and then a twist that left even seasoned investigators stunned. The teenager accused of the crime allegedly reached out to true crime influencers, asking them to cover her story. This is not just another case of tragedy. This is the story of Sarah Grace Patrick, a high school student from Carrollton, Georgia, a girl who, by all appearances, lived an ordinary teenage life, school, friends, social media. But behind the walls of her family home, something far darker was unfolding. When her mother and stepfather were found dead earlier this year, the community was left reeling. How could this happen in such a quiet neighborhood? And why would a 17-year-old facing charges this serious reach out to online creators, describing her own case as something that could become a big hit? It's a chilling detail that blurs the line between real-life tragedy and the world of online storytelling. Suddenly, this case wasn't just about crime. It was about the unsettling way social media and sensationalism can creep into even the most devastating situations. Today, we're diving into this heartbreaking and bizarre story that has captured national attention. From the disappearance of trust inside a family home, to the evidence that led to an arrest, and the disturbing way social media played a role. This is the case of Sarah Grace Patrick. In February 2025, the quiet community of Carrollton, Georgia, was shaken by news that would soon capture national attention. Inside a family home, tragedy had struck. Authorities discovered the bodies of 41-year-old Kristen Brock and her husband, 45-year-old James Brock. To neighbors and friends, Kristen and James were known as warm, hardworking, and ordinary people, the kind of family no one expected to see in headlines. Neighbors later told reporters that the household seemed peaceful from the outside. They described Kristen as a devoted mother who loved her children, and James as a steady figure who often kept to himself but was always polite. From the outside, there were no clear signs of trouble, but investigators quickly realized this was not a simple tragedy. The scene raised immediate red flags, and detectives began searching for answers. It didn't take long before suspicion turned closer to home. Almost immediately, questions began to surround 17-year-old Sarah Grace Patrick, Kristen's daughter and James's stepdaughter. At first, people in the community struggled to believe it. How could a teenager, a high school student, be linked to something so devastating? Yet, as detectives examined the circumstances, they started piecing together evidence that pointed towards Sarah's possible involvement. What began as a shocking loss soon developed into a criminal investigation that no one could have imagined. For the Carrollton community, the discovery was heartbreaking. In just a matter of hours, a quiet neighborhood had been transformed into the center of a high-profile case. Families who once felt secure suddenly found themselves questioning how something so unimaginable could happen so close to home. The tragedy of Kristen and James Brock marked the beginning of a story that would only grow more disturbing with each new development. A story involving a teenage suspect, a family torn apart, and later an unusual twist that would involve the world of social media. Sarah Grace Patrick was just 17 years old when she became the center of a chilling investigation in Carrollton, Georgia. To her friends, classmates, and church community, she was a bright, articulate teenager who seemed to have a promising future. She was active online, often sharing glimpses of her life on platforms like TikTok, where she connected with others and expressed herself in ways typical of her generation. Her pastor at Catalyst Church described her as a regular attendee who made a personal decision to be baptized, calling her someone who found a place where she felt at home. A family friend, Caitlin O'Keefe, later testified that Sarah was motivated to complete her homework by thinking of her late mother, showing a side of her that was caring and driven. But behind this public persona, investigators uncovered what they described as a darker reality. On July 8, 2025, Sarah turned herself in after authorities issued a warrant for her arrest. She was charged as an adult with 2 counts of murder and 2 counts of aggravated assault in connection to the deaths of her mother, Kristen Brock, 41, and stepfather James Brock, 45, who were found shot to death in their home on February 20, 2025. The Carroll County Sheriff's Office, with support from the FBI and Georgia Bureau of Investigation, stated they had gathered mountains of digital and physical evidence pointing to Sarah's involvement, though specific details of this evidence remain undisclosed to the public. The case shocked those who knew Sarah. Her grandfather, Dennis Nolan, publicly defended her, insisting there was no direct physical evidence like a murder weapon, linking her to the crime. He told Fox 5 Atlanta, "It's all speculative stuff. Nothing puts the gun in her hand. They don't have the gun." Yet, prosecutors argued that Sarah's digital footprint, her online activity and communications, played a significant role in building the case against her. The arrest of a teenager for such a serious crime raised difficult questions. What could drive a 17-year-old to allegedly commit such an act? Was there something in her family life or personal struggles that went unnoticed? Court documents from a 2018 divorce filing between Sarah's biological parents, Kristen Brock and Daniel Patrick, hinted at a turbulent childhood, with allegations of drug abuse and custody disputes. Daniel had claimed Kristen created a drug-unsafe environment for Sarah and her younger brother, though these claims were not directly tied to the murder case. As the investigation deepened, Sarah's behavior in the months following the murders began to draw scrutiny, particularly her unusual activity on social media. This leads us to a twist in the case that no one saw coming. In the weeks and months following the tragic deaths of Kristen and James Brock on February 20, 2025, Sarah Grace Patrick didn't shy away from the public eye. Instead, the 17-year-old turned to TikTok, a platform where she was already active, posting emotional tributes to her mother and stepfather. But what caught investigators' attention and stunned the true crime community was her alleged outreach to influencers, urging them to cover the case. Janice, the creator behind the TikTok account, reportedly, with over 100,000 followers, shared a chilling account with People magazine. On June 3, 2025, she received a message from a user named Sarah Grace that read, "Search up Brock case." When Janice asked for clarification, the user responded, "Kristen and James Brock, they're my parents, and out of nowhere, a random Thursday night in February, someone came in my house with me and my 5-year-old sister and shot my parents brutally, leaving them for me and my little sister to wake up to." The message was heartfelt, and Janice, moved by the plea, offered condolences and promised to look into the case. The next day, the same user sent another message that, in hindsight, raised red flags. According to screenshots shared with People, Sarah Grace wrote that news coverage of the murders would be a really big hit, and even offered to provide intel about the case. Janice later told Fox 5 Atlanta that this was the first time she'd been contacted by someone who was later arrested for the crime they asked her to cover. Another influencer known as True Crime Mama reported a similar interaction, claiming that either Sarah or someone claiming to be her friend reached out in April, asking for help with the case. A third creator, a Shoe Lover 99, with over 12 million followers, shared a message from a Sarah Grace account saying, "Mama taught I need a mama bad. Right now, I'm going through it." These interactions, while not officially confirmed to be from Sarah Grace Patrick due to the account's deletion, became a key part of the investigation. Carroll County Communications Director Ashley Halsey confirmed to Fox News Digital that Sarah operated a TikTok account under the username sgrace04282, which commented on posts related to the case. In one instance, when a commenter speculated that the Brock's killer knew them, Sarah Grace replied, "Most definitely was, since they knew the house." To many, this comment seemed oddly specific. The revelation that Sarah allegedly sought out true crime influencers shocked both the public and the media. It raised unsettling questions. Was Sarah trying to shape the narrative around her parents' deaths? Was she seeking attention during a tragedy? Or was this the impulsive behavior of a teenager caught in a situation she didn't fully understand? Her grandfather, Dennis Nolan, defended her, telling Fox 5 Atlanta that the case against her was speculative and lacked physical evidence. Yet, her digital trail, her posts, comments, and messages painted a complex picture that investigators were piecing together. This twist turned the case into more than a local tragedy. It became a national story about how social media, especially among young people, intersects with real-world events, even in the darkest of circumstances. As the public grappled with these questions, the case began to spark broader conversations about the role of online platforms in shaping perceptions of crime. On August 19, 2025, the small courtroom in Carroll County Superior Court was packed with emotion as Sarah Grace Patrick, just 17 years old, appeared for her bond hearing. The room was divided, Family members of the victims sat on one side, while Sarah's supporters, some wearing "I Stand with Sarah" t-shirts, filled the other. The hearing, which lasted over 2 hours, revealed the deep divide in how people viewed the teenager accused of murdering her mother, Kristen Brock, and stepfather, James Brock. Sarah entered the courtroom in a neon green jail jumpsuit, her hair neatly braided, clutching a yellow folder. According to Daily Mail, she was seen smiling and even laughing briefly with another inmate as she arrived, a moment that struck some observers as out of place given the gravity of the charges. But as the hearing progressed, her demeanor shifted. Court TV footage captured her wiping away tears, her face crumpling as she listened to emotional testimony from both sides. Her public defender, LaToya Williams, argued passionately for her release, emphasizing Sarah's lack of prior criminal history and her ties to the community. Williams noted that Sarah was in solitary confinement at Carroll County Jail due to safety concerns as a young inmate, and she urged the judge to allow Sarah to await trial with family members who were willing to take her in. Supporters painted a picture of a kind and devout teenager. Sarah's pastor from Catalyst Church testified that she had made a personal decision to be baptized and called him from jail to pray, describing her as a respectful young woman who was active in their congregation. A family friend, Caitlin O'Keefe, shared that Sarah found motivation to complete her homework by thinking of her late mother, suggesting a deep emotional connection to Kristen. Another supporter, Caitlin Jensen, told the court about their close friendship, emphasizing Sarah's caring nature. These accounts aim to show that Sarah posed no flight risk and deserved to be released on bond. But the prosecution presented a different perspective. They argued that Sarah could be a flight risk and might intimidate witnesses if released. Kim Bowling, James Brock's sister, delivered a heart-wrenching testimony, telling the court, "If the defendant can kill her own parents in such a violent manner, I fear for my own safety and the safety of my family and friends." Tristan Brock, Sarah's stepbrother, echoed this, stating to Fox News that he believed Sarah would absolutely attempt to flee rather than stand trial. Prosecutors also pointed to the mountains of digital and physical evidence they had gathered, though specific details remained under wraps to protect the ongoing investigation. After weighing both sides, Superior Court Judge Dustin Hightower made his decision, citing concerns about a significant flight risk and the potential for witness intimidation. He denied Sarah's bond request, meaning she would remain in custody at Carroll County Jail. The judge also promised a speedy trial, setting a tentative start date of January 5, 2026, if Sarah is indicted by a grand jury. Just hours after the hearing, a Carroll County grand jury handed down an 8-part indictment, charging Sarah with 2 counts each of malice murder, felony murder, aggravated assault, and possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony. Her arraignment, where she will formally enter a plea, is scheduled for September 22, 2025. Legal experts have noted that this case is likely to draw significant attention, not only because of the tragic nature of the charges, but also due to Sarah's unusual engagement with social media during the investigation. Her TikTok activity and alleged outreach to true crime influencers have raised questions about how digital platforms can influence public perception of a case. As the Times-Georgian reported, the trial could become a focal point for discussions about youth, mental health, and the role of social media in modern crime stories. With the nation watching, the courtroom drama is only just beginning. In the quiet town of Carrollton, Georgia, the murders of Kristen Brock, 41, and James Brock, 45, on February 20, 2025, sent shockwaves through a tight-knit community. The couple, found shot to death in their home, were remembered not just as victims, but as cherished neighbors, friends, and family members. Kristen, a devoted mother of 2, was known for her warmth and dedication to her children, Sarah and her younger son. James, a hard-working man, was described by those close to him as someone who always put family first. Their deaths left a void that words could hardly capture. In the days and weeks that followed, Carrollton came together to mourn. As reported by the Times-Georgian, friends and neighbors organized candlelight vigils outside the Brock family home, where dozens gathered to share memories and pray. One neighbor, speaking to Fox 5 Atlanta, recalled Kristen's kindness, saying, "She was the type of person who'd bring you cookies just because she was thinking of you." Another described James as a guy who'd help fix your car without asking for anything in return. These vigils, often attended by members of Catalyst Church where the family was active, became a space for collective grief, with flowers and handwritten notes piling up at a makeshift memorial. But the community's sorrow was complicated by the allegations against Sarah Grace Patrick, Kristen's 17-year-old daughter and James's stepdaughter. Many in Carrollton struggled to reconcile the image of the bright, church-going teenager they knew with the serious charges she faced. A local business owner told the Times-Georgian, "It's hard to believe someone so young could be involved in something so tragic. We're all just trying to make sense of it." Others, particularly those close to the victims, expressed anger and fear. Kim Bowling, James's sister, spoke at the bond hearing about her family's devastation, a sentiment echoed by many who felt the loss deeply. Beyond Carrollton, the case captured national attention, fueled by Sarah's alleged outreach to true crime influencers and her active TikTok presence. Online, the story sparked heated discussions across platforms like X and Reddit, where users debated the same questions gripping the community. How could a tragedy like this happen in a seemingly ordinary family? What hidden dynamics might have led to such a devastating outcome? As one X user posted, "This case is a reminder that we never really know what's going on behind closed doors." Another wrote, "The way Sarah used social media makes you wonder how much of this was about attention." These online conversations, while speculative, highlighted a broader fascination with the case's unique blend of youth, violence, and digital culture. The collision of crime and social media also raised uncomfortable questions. Legal analyst Danny Savalos, speaking to Fox News Digital, noted that Sarah's alleged interactions with influencers could reflect a generational shift in how young people process tragedy, saying, "This case shows how social media can amplify a crime's impact, for better or worse." For many following the story, it wasn't just about the loss of two lives. It was about what this case revealed about family secrets, teenage mental health, and the power of online platforms to shape public perception. As Carrollton continues to heal, the community remains divided, grieving for Kristen and James while grappling with the complex reality of a teenager at the center of the tragedy. The answers, many hope, will come as the trial unfolds. The Sarah Grace Patrick case, unfolding in Carrollton, Georgia, is more than a local tragedy. It's a story that resonates far beyond the small town, where Kristen and James Brock lost their lives on February 20th, 2025. As the community grieves and the nation watches, this case has sparked conversations about deeper issues that touch us all: the fragility of family relationships, the complex role of social media in the lives of young people, and the urgent need to understand mental health, especially among teenagers. At its core, this case raises questions about what goes on behind closed doors. Court documents from a 2018 divorce filing between Sarah's biological parents, Kristen Brock and Daniel Patrick, as reported by Fox News Digital, hinted at a turbulent family history, with allegations of drug abuse and custody disputes. While these details don't directly explain the events of February 2025, they remind us that family dynamics are often more complicated than they appear. Dr. John Huber, a forensic psychologist interviewed by Fox 5 Atlanta, noted that cases involving young defendants often stem from unseen stressors, whether it's family conflict, trauma, or unspoken struggles. The tragedy of the Brock murders underscores how even seemingly ordinary families can face challenges that lead to devastating outcomes. Then there's the role of social media, which has made this case stand out. Sarah's alleged outreach to true crime influencers and her active TikTok presence under the username sgrace04282, as confirmed by Carroll County Communications Director Ashley Halsey, have drawn scrutiny. Her messages, like the one to influencer allegedly reportedly claiming the case would be a really big hit, have led experts to question how young people navigate digital platforms during crises. A 2023 study by the Pew Research Center found that 60% of U.S. teens use TikTok daily, often as a way to express themselves or seek connection. Legal analyst Danny Savalos, speaking to Fox News Digital, commented, "This case highlights a generational shift. Teenagers today may turn to social media to process or even publicize their experiences, even in the darkest moments. Sarah's actions, whether misguided or calculated, reflect a broader trend where online platforms amplify personal and public narratives, sometimes with unintended consequences. Perhaps most critically, this case has brought teenage mental health into focus. While no official reports have confirmed a mental health diagnosis for Sarah, her behavior, shifting from emotional tributes to allegedly soliciting influencer attention, has prompted discussions about the pressures teens face. The National Alliance on Mental Illness, NAMI, reports that 1 in 5 U.S. teens experiences a mental health condition each year, yet many go undiagnosed or unsupported. Dr. Huber emphasized, teenagers are still developing emotionally and may act impulsively under stress, especially in traumatic situations. The Carrollton community, still reeling from the loss, has called for more resources to support youth mental health, with local leaders planning forums to address these issues, as noted by the Times-Georgian. As prosecutors build their case against Sarah, with a trial tentatively set for January 5, 2026, the public is left to reflect on the lessons this tragedy offers. It's a reminder to look closer at the people around us, our families, our neighbors, our youth. It challenges us to ask, how can we better support teenagers navigating a world where social media and real-life struggles collide? And how do we heal as a community when trust is shattered? The answers may not come easily, but the Sarah Grace Patrick case has made one thing clear. These conversations are more important than ever. As the trial approaches, many questions remain unanswered. What led Sarah to this point? How will the courts handle a case involving such a young defendant? And most importantly, will justice be served for Kristen and James Brock? This case will continue to unfold in the coming weeks, and we'll be following it closely. If you found this video informative, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to hit the bell icon so you never miss an update.